Before Super Smash Bros. Became the forefront of all crossover video games, there was another game series that itched a lot of fans' itchiness. But instead of Italians and sexy space ladies, we had Spider-Man and sexy succubuses. And the game I'm talking about is the Marvel vs. Capcom series. With 8 games in the franchise, I'm gonna be talking about the most loved out of the 8. And that being Marvel vs. Capcom 2, The New Age of Heroes. And why out of all of these, this one is the most talked about. I'm your host G, so sit back, keep your hopes high for the next game. It's time for a rematch. So before I talk about the beauty of it, let's talk about how this game series came to be. So we have to go back all the way to 1993 with the release of the Punisher arcade game. Soon after, Capcom created the first Marvel fighting game, that being X-Men Children of Atom. And then after that, in 1995, Marvel Superheroes was made. And from this game, you can already see the seed to make Marvel vs. Capcom. But I bet you're wondering what started the franchise. Well, with assets used from X-Men Children of the Atom, this was actually the start point of the franchise. You see, not only Capcom had a hand making this, they even had one of their own characters as a secret character. Who is it, you might be asking? Well, no other than Akuma. Yes, Akuma was an olive branch to start this whole crossover. And with it being recognized as a team-up concept, Capcom would start working on the next big project. That game would end up being X-Men vs. Street Fighter. Yeah, but it wasn't that long till the new toy in town came along, and that will be Marvel Superheroes vs. Street Fighter. It came out in 1997, same year I was born. And with the title, it replaced the X-Men cast with other Marvel heroes such as Spider-Man, Captain America, and Shumagarath? I see. But what's interesting is that the game itself is technically half of what we want. We just need Capcom to give us what they have. And to be honest, this is kind of overkill bringing out your heavy hitters. Like in the previous game, X-Men vs. Street Fighter makes sense. Right here, it doesn't. This is like if they made a WCW versus DX game. But all that would change in about a year. And that's where the first Marvel vs. Capcom game was released. And oh man, what a game changer. Starting off with the roster on Capcom's side, they didn't hold back, adding big names at the time, like Mega Man and Morgan from the Darkstalkers series, and even my main man Captain Commando's in this. As for the Marvel side of things, it's interesting that they didn't have Iron Man, replacing him with War Machine instead. Also in this game, they had secret characters. Well, if you could call Color Swap secret. Oh hey, it's Ro. With every great thing comes a second, and that being Marvel vs. Capcom 2, released in 1999. But this is my opinion, the peak of arcade fighting games. I think this is why this game has a hold on me. It's so a lot to do with the aesthetic of it. To start things off, let's talk about the artwork. It is so beautiful and eye-pleasing to look at, blending the Marvel 90s era of comics and mixing with the 90s era of manga style, making characters look more visually striking. And this might be biased, but I truly love the 90s era of manga and comics, so seeing a blend like this is nothing but a dream. And from the artwork itself, the sprites does it justice as well. Yeah, it uses assets from previous games, but it gives off a life feel to it, so I'm looking like they came right from the art. Best example I could give is Spider-Man. This is clearly taken from the time when Todd McFarlane was drawing Spider-Man, and it shows. Another thing that makes a perfect fighting game is the stages, and Marvel vs. Capcom 2 is no stranger when it comes down to unique stages. I feel like nowadays many fighting games lack a lot when it comes to stages. Some are either non-memorable or others just blend in. A lot of people rather focus on what the stage could do to help them in the fight. There's a reason that Final Destination or the generic flat stage is in many tournaments these days. Hell, even Marvel vs. Capcom has a flat stage, but it still looks 100 times pleasing than many other fighting games. From the circus stage to the clock tower, I would say that the stages got better with the third game. Even the soundtrack of the game is amazing and most recognizable out of all of the 8 games, being composed by Tetsu Shibata and Mitsuki Tako, making over 20 songs. Some personal favorites is the clock tower and mode menu. Really gives off a high tempo for a fighting game. But now let's talk about the roster. With the last game only having 22 playable characters, including secret characters, and even adding 20 extra special partners that you can't play, only sending them out during the fight to help out. But in Marvel vs. Capcom, they take away the special partners for room for more playable characters, with the second game having 56 playable characters, with both sides giving the most iconic characters from Capcom having Ryu, Mega Man, and Morgana, and for the Marvel side having Spider-Man, Wolverine, and Wolverine. Wait, what? Yeah, apparently this game gave us two versions of Wolverine, Bone Claw Wolverine and Adamantium Wolverine. Only difference is that the Bone Claw Wolverine has a set from the Marvel's Capcom 1 game, and the other one has the moveset from X-Men vs Street Fighter, which is kinda lazy. Like I know they were probably on a crunch time with the roster, but they couldn't just throw anyone else with a quick moveset like how Smash Bros made Ganon? No? Okay. But speaking of characters, did you know that this series has original characters? Yeah, while having two Wolverines, the game also introduces three characters, that being Amigo, the Mexican cactus monster, Sun, the Rule 63 version of Sun Wukong, and is the granddaughter of the protagonist of the 1984 Capcom game Sun. And lately we have Ruby Heart, the French air pirate, and is the protagonist of Marvel's Capcom. Bet you didn't know that fact. But why will Capcom make a new character only for her to be the protagonist, while the game itself has a list of others that could fit the role, like Ryu or Spider-Man? Well, I'll talk more about that after this. So what's the story about Ruby Heart, the air pirate herself? Well, as pirates do, she was on a voyage to steal the fabled armor of Erison, but then gets herself involved in the crisis that happened when Abyss awakens, Abyss being the antagonist of the whole game. While not being able to defeat Abyss herself, Ruby goes on a search for heroes from Marvel and Capcom to help. And at the end of the game, when you defeat Abyss, the heroes travel back on Ruby's ship to look for Abyss's true form. She thinks about adding it to her collection, but seeing a crack on it, she finds it worthless and throws it into the sea, just like that old lady at the end of the Titanic. I find it pretty cool that Capcom made a whole new character to be the main protagonist, and for years I didn't even know about it, but it was kind of there. Like when you get into them character selection screen, the first character that the character loads on is Ruby, and hell, even in the intro, Ruby is the first character to be shown right next to Sun and Amigo. I know I've been bringing this up, but Ryu himself is the sixth character to be popped up in the Capcom side of things. Even the Butler Bot got to go before him, and the only reason why I keep bringing up Ryu is because Ryu is kind of like the forefront nowadays of Capcom. So I feel like nowadays, if they did something like this, Ryu would have most definitely been the main protagonist. But with all that being said, why do I like this game? Is it the roster that introduced me to characters from Darkstalkers or X-Men? Or was it the art style that I mentioned earlier on how is it so pleasing to look at? And I wish that the next game have the same art team to make more. Even the fact that none of it is from any of the games or shows being solely original, but it's honestly a mix of all of it. And maybe some little nostalgia on the side too. I was introduced to Marvel's Capcom when my brothers popped the PS2 disc, and seeing the Hulk and Sanjeev was so eye-opening to me, and lately I haven't played a game that gave me that type of dopamine. The closest is probably being Smash. With the state of the Marvel's Capcom franchises in, I'm afraid that the next game, whenever it comes out, won't stand a chance with the past games, and I think that's what the beauty of it is. But whenever the next one drops, I'll be ready. And also, Capcom, add Captain Commando to the next one, and Hayato, you cowards. But that's gonna be it for the video, guys. I hope you all enjoyed the topic I was talking about, and if you did, how about you hit that like button and let me know, did you play Marvel's Capcom 2? And do you want to see a remaster of it someday in the future? And also, if you want more videos, how about you hit that subscribe button so you won't have to miss out. So till the next one, peace.